Hello friends and welcome to my channel Learn, Apply and Build, and today we are going to see a very interesting concept and a subject wherein we are going to learn about application Fast API, developing an API using Fast API, and we'll be developing an application using MySQL. Now the subject of that application is to accept, send and receive friend requests using Fast API and MySQL database. So there are a few concepts in this lecture which we need to take care and understand. So stay tuned and please follow along and support, like, subscribe and share my channel. And I come up with such beautiful concepts and learnings for you guys. Thank you so much, and now let's get started. So basically what we are going to do here is we are going to first go and create a MySQL database. So just let's go to MySQL Workbench and create a database. So here you can log into your MySQL. I'll be putting another video as to how to install MySQL database. Okay, and I'll go ahead and I'll just drop these schema which we had created earlier. Okay, so now I have this, I can create the schema again. So first thing is to create the database, that is a friendsdb. We label it as friendsdb and we use the friends there. If we use that database, then we create a table in that database named users. That's the first table which we have, and that will have an integer which is like not null and auto increment primary key. So as and when you keep on creating users, we'll see that how do we create users here. So as and when we create the users, it will auto increment, that id will be auto incremented, and the name of the user for sure. We can also include something else here, but for time being we'll be including same the name and the id. And in the table, another table which we have is create table friends. In the friends table we have an id, and that is the same thing like auto increment primary key, first thing the user id, okay, and the friend id. Now the user id would be coming from this users table, and the friend id is like who is sending a friend request to whom. For example, if my name is me, then there is another person named John and I'm sending a friend request to John. His id is 2, so 1 would be the user id and friend id would be 3 for me. Okay, the status by default would be pending. Okay, and let's go ahead and just run this SQL query. So if I run this SQL query, a table would be created here, that is a friends table. And if you go ahead, a database is created here, friendsdb, and there are two tables here, friends and users. Now it's like if I go inside the users table, I see that there is nothing here. So what I do is I create users. I create something around like 5 users, and let's name them. Let's name them as Nick and John, then Alex, then let's say Meet, and let's say Tina. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and applying all these changes to this table, and then once the SQL query is run, I get this database, this data as fish here in the data. So now there is user ID 1 2 3 4 5, and then the names next to them, right? Now what we have to do is using, so the first part, basically the first part is over. So if we divide our code or our video into sections, then the first section, that is creating the database, is done. Now let's begin with the code. So in this code, first thing we need to do is we need to connect our database using our Python code, right? So for that, what we'll do is we'll import uh, MySQL connector. So let's say MySQL connector, and so MySQL dot connector. That's it. Now, using this MySQL connector, I'll create an object of the MySQL connector. Let's say, so we have the MyDB, let's say MyDB is equals to, and then from MyDB, what I do is I use the MySQL, that is MySQL dot connector dot connect method, and here I pass on all the values which are necessary. So first thing is the host, and that host will be, yeah, so you can keep this as well, or else you can just include in a string localhost, and let's say, so we didn't need the port. Now after this we need, after the host we need the user. So who is the user? So we'll label it as the root user. So let's keep it uniform, it's the root user. After that we have the password, so the password, whatever your password is for the database. Then we have the database name. So okay, 1 second, I guess we have this here, then the database. So the database name is, we just created FRIEF. So we have friends DB, and then let's just one more time check, is it that friends DB? Yeah, that's the database name. Okay, so now we have created an object to establish the connection between our database and the Python code. Okay, now we need to import some things again related to the MySQL. So from MySQL.connector we import error. So if this doesn't work, if there is some of the other error, then we need the error handling here. And now from Fast API, so we are going to use Fast API. So Fast API, we import, first thing is we import the Fast API. So we have Fast API, comma, and then we have HTTP exception. That's it. Now from the Fast API responses, we need an HTML response. So we have from Fast API dot responses, not only Fast API, we have Fast API dot, we'll have responses. Yes, responses, we'll import the HTML response. That's it for the import section. And also we will initialize our application, that is app is equals to, we have Fast API. Now so here we can start with our code. So we start with @app.post. So the first thing, the first post request will be like, so what it will do is, so first thing what a user does is he goes ahead and sends a friend request, right? So we have the send request, and then after the friend request is sent, like friend request will require two things, right? So the first thing, as I mentioned here, the first thing it requires is the user ID who is sending the request, and the friend ID to whom I'm going to send the request. So friend underscore ID. Now that's the requirement, and then comma, we have not here, we have comma here inside comma, and then we have the response underscore class is equals to, so we have response underscore class. What will be the response? It will be an HTML response. That's it. Okay, now we start with the function. So we have def send request. Now this is an autocomplete function. You can go here to the extensions tab here and just press tab 9 and get this tab 9 AI extension here for Python and other codes. So the video is not sponsored, guys, but yeah, I like to use this extension for my codes. Okay, now we start with the code, that is trying. What happens once is, first we initialize our cursor, that is cursor is equals to, and then mydb.cursor. So mydb is the object of this. So now this cursor will help us execute each and every query on each and every event happening, right? For the send request, for getting all the requests for a user, and for accepting the request for a user, right? Now the query which we execute once this request is sent is like we write the query cursor dot execute, and now what will happen is what we do is we insert into the friends. So we have insert, okay, let's just insert into friends. Now how will it, so we need the user ID comma friend ID, and the values as, so we'll have VALES values, and those values will be after that we have %n, so whatever the values are, because those are integer values, %s, and then after that we need the user ID and the friend ID here. So we have the user ID and the friend ID here. Okay, so now the query has been executed, and after this query I need to commit it, right? So I have my db dot commit, so my db, so execution is already done, my db dot commit, and then close the bracket. Now once this is sent or once this is done, what we do is we return something, right? So return, instead of true, we return a statement that friend request sent successfully. That's it. So this is inside the try block. Now if this doesn't happen, what do we do is we have the except block where we have the error which was imported. If you remember, we had imported the error from the MySQL. So we now raise an exception, that is raise HTTP exception, which we had again imported, wherein we have the status code as status underscore code is equals to 500 comma, and now we need to give some detail. So we can give a detail, anything we want, like a string where the detail would be could not send a friend request, could not send a friend request, due to some or the other error, that is the request could be sent. Now this user went ahead and sent a request, right? Now what we need to do now is that if I am a user number one wants to go ahead and check who has sent me a request, right? So now here I'll be just copying the same thing I'll be copying again. I'll be copying here, and I'll be starting the new function or the new this thing called as accept or get request, right? So we just read requests here. Instead of send, we just need requests, and okay, so we just need requests. Now what will this requests do? Request will give me the request who has sent me the friend request, right? So I don't require the friend ID there. So I'll be getting who has sent me the friend request on the user ID itself. I pass my user ID and I get who has sent me the friend request, right? So now after this, so this is app.get. The method will be app.get, and after this I have def and defining the function get requests. So I like get requests where I have only the user ID, not the friend ID. And here again the query would be executed, but now here we have these parameters which will be int, because we have mentioned the values here, and this is also an integer. The same thing goes here as well. This value is an integer. Okay, now again the same thing is that these two things would be the same, and from here we are selecting, so the query would be select query. After this, the cursor dot execute and the query would be same, select from user or select users dot name. So we have select and then select star from, no, we don't need this. We have user dot and then name from, so I have to display the username from the ID, right? Using that ID, right? So from users now, and I have to apply an inner join. So let's apply an inner join now. Inner join where on the friends, right? On the friends table, right? On user dot id, okay, and then is equals to friends dot user underscore id. So here it will be friends dot user underscore id, and then where friend dot friend id is equals to that id which I mentioned. So this will be friends dot friend id is equals to, and then that will be something called s here. Now this query, and friends dot status is pending, so this query has to be the friends dot and then it is having a status which is equal to pending, and then just close this, okay. And after this we put a comma saying that we need the user id, right? So inside the bracket we have user underscore id. That's it. That was a query. It was a huge one. Now, so what will happen is that cursor will go ahead and fetch all the friend requests or all the people who have sent you requests, right? So that will be the next statement. That is, we will just write this or correct this if anything goes wrong. And we don't really, okay, yeah. Now the next line is the result is equals to, and then we have cursor dot fetch all, yeah, cursor dot fetch all, and then we close the bracket. Now we have got something in the result. If there is nothing in the result, if not result means if there is nothing in the result, so we have to return something. So we return that you have no friend requests, you have no friend requests, right? So if there is nothing in this result after firing the query, means there are no friend requests, right? Now else what will happen is, else we'll have to display that, so we'll have to return something, right? So return all that results. So we have friend requests, and then we'll have friend requests, and then okay, one second, we'll have, then we have plus, and then comma space, and then dot join. Now what we'll have to join the first is the from the row 0th element, and for row in result, yeah, that's it. And here after this, now this is all inside the try block actually, so we just forgot the try block. So this is all under the try block, so this will go one tab ahead, and after this, if this doesn't work, we have the except block, and again for the except block we have error, and that error will be the same thing, could not get friend request. So we can just copy and paste from here, right? Could not get friend requests, so we can just copy and paste it here. That's it. Now the last or the final part of the code, not the video, of the code, that is, if like we want to accept a friend request, so at the rate app and dot put, so this will do what? This will accept the friend request. So slash accept request. So now if this goes ahead and accepts the friend request, slash, what will you require? You will require two things again now, the friend ID and the user ID. So we have user underscore ID, and here it is friend underscore ID. Now here, mind you, when the person whom I sent a friend request, so if I send a friend request to John, now the John has to accept a request, right? So here the user ID becomes John's user ID, that is 2, and the friend ID becomes my user ID, that is 1. Okay, so that's the catch here. And after that we have response is equals to, or response underscore class is again the same thing, that is HTML response. And now we have def accepting the request. We have a self parameter here, user ID and the friend ID. User ID is an int and the friend ID is again an int, right? So again, try, and inside the try block we have cursor is equals to, so cursor is equals to my db.cursor, and then we execute the query, that is cursor dot execute. And now what we have to do is we have to update something, right? So update friends and set the status. So we are going to change the status now. Set the status is equals to, so that is why we are going to use a put, right? Accepted, where the user underscore ID is equals to, where the user underscore ID is equal to percentage s, whatever the integer is, and the friend ID is equals to again the percentage s. Now the query is complete, comma, then we put both of them, that is the user ID and the friend ID, and then close the query. So we have here, we will have the friend ID first and then the user ID, right? Okay, so that's the query. After that I put a commit statement, so that will be mydb dot commit, that will be the statement now, and then we return. So what will this return? This will return a statement saying that the friend request is accepted. Okay, and if this doesn't happen, we have inside the accept block again the error, and this error will be raise the same thing. We can just copy and paste it here. So let's just copy and paste it here. That's it for the API code. Now this was the API code, and this was the first part of the video section wherein we just saw how to create an API, the fast API. Now let's just run the fast API. So to run this code, we'll need to have this command, that is uvcon, and then the name of the file, that is main and colon app hyphen reload. So that's the command we use. Now let's just go ahead and first try this. Here we don't have the statement, so we just go ahead and, so it's 127 slash docs, and now here first thing is we get this cool view that fast API provides us. Okay, it's inbuilt, so you just have to do that localhost port and slash docs. So once you do that, you get the this basic view, this view wherein you can try it out. You can try the execution of the API. Then you have the endpoints here. Okay, so if you go ahead and send a request, so the user ID 1 has sent a request to user ID 2, let's say, and then just execute this. Once this gets executed, we have the request URL here. Okay, so here we have the request URL, and I can just go ahead and show you guys how to run this using the Postman. So let's just go ahead and execute this query in Postman. And to execute or to run this in Postman, for this query to be running in Postman, we will first open Postman and you can just create an account in Postman, or now we need to import something, right? So go ahead and import, go to raw text, because we had a curl statement, right? So a curl statement is this: we are sending a request, continue, import. So that's it. Now if you want to save this in a collection, just go ahead and create this, click this save button, and what we do is we create this send request. So that this, the name of this request is send request. Let's create a collection named friends, this create, and this request will be stored here. So the name of that request will be stored here. So here there will be user ID 1 and user ID 2. Now this is the post request, and that has already been sent. So let's just go ahead and modify this. The user ID is 3 and the friend ID is 2. Let's just send this and wait for the response. Okay, so the port should be okay, and send request. Okay, yeah. So if we go ahead and check the query, okay, yeah, so the port has to be this thing, send request. Yeah, that's perfect, I guess. And that is the statement, I guess. We missed a line saying that. Okay, so we missed a line here after the statement. So that's the error we are getting. So we have send request slash, so that has to start, also the code also has to start with the slash. Yeah, so we forgot this slash here. Let's just save it and it will reload on its own. So good, we made this minor bug or the error. And now if we go ahead and try to send a friend request using Postman, and we try to send this, we get friend request has been sent successfully. So this, the friend request was sent successfully here. And same thing we can do here, as we can create, okay, just let's remove all the rest of the requests. And now we have just saved this here. And now let's check the Python code here. This gives us the Python code for this friend request. So let's just copy and paste this code here and relabel this as, I'll just rename this file as app.py. okay, and let's just copy and paste it here, and we will see how to use this code in the future in the application itself. Okay, so now let's check the other two requests, that is the if I am the user ID 1 who has sent me a friend request. If I'm the user ID 1, I say that okay, so I have no friend request as of now because I'll have to execute this again. So let's just execute this and just cancel this, try it out again and execute it. So I have to refresh this, try it out, and 1 is sending a friend request to 2, execute this, and the friend request was sent successfully. So now if I am the user ID, if I try this out and if I try the user ID 1, I'll see that there is a friend request being sent. If I am the user ID 1, okay, I do not have friend requests. So this is again something which is not right, because if I am the user ID 1, I have just sent no, so I am the user ID 2. I am the user ID 2, and who has sent me friend request, I have to see. Yeah, so Alex and Nick have sent me friend request. Yes. Now if I go ahead and accept the friend request, so for accepting the friend request, we'll be trying these in Postman as well. So to and the friend request sent by. So friend ID is 1, the user ID is 2. I execute this to accept the friend request. So now second has accepted the friend request. Now if I go here in the friends column and let's just check which all requests are accepted and which all requests are pending. So one had sent a request to 2. So let's see, one had sent a request to Nick had sent a request to John, and John has accepted that friend request. And what are the other requests which we have? So the other request is 3 has sent a friend request to 2. Who is 3? So Alex has sent a friend request to John, and that request is still pending. So this comes here as pending. By default, the status is pending. So let's just now put this in the Postman. So we have here the curl request again for getting the friend requests. So let's just copy this and paste it here as import raw text and paste this. So once we do this, we have the request and just save it. So I can save this as get underscore request. So I'll get all the requests here in using this, right? So that will be the get requests, and the last one is the post. So I'll just copy and paste that also. Oh sorry, the last one is the put one, right? So I'll just copy and paste this. I'll import and raw text and I'll put this continue import, and let's just now so this request has been already sent, right? The request has been already accepted. I'll just save this. So let's save it and let's say accept CEPT accept requests, right? Accept request, save, and let's just rename this and put an underscore instead of an hyphen. So we have this, right? So now we have the code for send request, then we get the code for get friend requests. So that code is this, and now the last thing is the last thing for the application to be starting to develop, like if you want to start developing the application here. So the last code is to accept the requests. Let's just save this here and this code as well, and then we will continue to develop the application wherein through the app itself we can accept and we can accept the get and send requests. Now let's just continue with the application where we had left it, and let's just first we have the send request code. So here where the send request code is, or initially we can just have this user ID and the friend ID, which we take from the user. So let's just code that out first. User ID is equals to, and then we have int. So now this has to be typecasted int, and then taking the input from the user, enter user ID, and then just close it. Okay, so that's the part. And also we require for sending the friend request, we also require the friend ID. So let's just put the friend ID here. Okay, now here in the URL, see these are the user ID and the friend ID, right? So using an F string, let us just code these as the variables which are already there before. We have coded them. So let's just write here user ID. We just call the variable here, and here we call the friend ID, and the friend underscore ID. That's it. Okay, and that's the like using the F string, we have user ID and the friend ID already selected. Okay, this is taking too long, but this has to be. I don't want to run my app.py file, and let's just close this, and let's just save this friend ID and the okay. Now So that's the URL. Okay, now this URL is not there below the friend ID in this. Okay, this is not inside the function. That's why I take this everything inside the function. I take this everything inside the function first. Now, okay, so this is a post request, and we just save this first. Let's just save this, and the other one, like we are not printing the response.text, and instead of printing, we return the response.text. Okay, so let's return the response.text. Okay, if like response.text. Okay, so that's the function which is created for send request. Now we want to create a function for view request. So def, and then we have function for view underscore requests. View requests have nothing, and then we have the, now for view request we have only one thing, that is the user ID, and then the user ID will be given by, okay, we don't need these import statements now. Okay, and till the end we just take it inside, and then again we take int, and then import, and then we have enter the user ID. Okay, so even if we don't have this, we can just have this underscore user ID, so the user wants, like, has a complete idea of what ID is asking, the code is asking for. Let's just keep it simple. And friend ID. Now we have the user ID and the friend ID. Here we only need the user ID. This is for the requests, and here instead of the number 2, what I do is I just change this and make it as the user ID. User ID with an F string. Okay, that's it. Space. This slash. Okay, that's done. Printing the response again. After printing, if you want to print it, the printing will be done here, and then we just returning the response.text. Okay, we can store it in data and return that as well. Like data is equals to print response.text and then return data. That's it. Now let's complete the code for the last function, that is def and accept request. So accept underscore requests, and then just close it. Now again we don't need this. Now for accepting the request, again we need what? User ID and the friend ID. So we can just copy and paste it, or just user. Okay, and have it inside. Just press and enter. User underscore ID equals to int, and then have import, and then enter the user ID. That's it. Same thing for, just copy and paste it. For friend ID, friend underscore ID, and then here we have friend underscore ID. That's it. Let's save this. Here now, using an F string, here we have the, instead of the first one, we have the friend underscore ID first, friend underscore ID, and here we have the user underscore ID, and that will be closed inside the brackets. Okay, that's it. And now returning the response.text. Let's just return the response.text. If you want to print, we can also print that after the payload, printing that. And here also, if we want to print, we can just print this out. I think so we need the brackets here for returning, and let's just print out here as well. Text. That's it. Save it. Now we need to invoke something, like we need to create a main function now where the user will be able to interact with the code, right? So defining the main function now, wherein the user will be able to, so while true, what will happen now? Print, and now if the user selects some inputs, so basically we have one dot, and then the user wants to send a request, so send friend request. Okay, so that will be there. If the user wants to send a friend request, if the first option is selected, now the second option, print to, and view friend request. So this will be view friend requests. Okay, and the last one is accept friend request. Accept friend request, that's about it. And then we have the choice. So now choice is equals to, and then what the user enters, input, and then let's say input and then enter, or else enter the choice. That's it. Enter your choice. That's about it. Now if the choice is equals to, now the input which is sent by the user will be in the form of a string. So if it is 1, then what we'll do, we'll call or invoke this function send. So send friend request, right? And it doesn't have any arguments. That's it. And now we'll use the elif, that is elif the choice is 2, then we use the view requests, right? So we call the view requests send request, view requests, okay, and if the choice is 3, then we call the accept requests. Actually this is accept request because one request is accepted at a time. So let's just this request. That's it. Done. Now else, this has to be there, because even if the user is given so much of information, else some people want to enter something else, so we have to print something called invalid input. Okay, that's it. Invalid input. And so now if the name is equals to the main is called, so what we invoke, the main function is invoked. That's it. Now we give this a run. So first we need to run our code, that is just opening a tab and clear this out. Inside this friends column, or inside this, we first run our code, that is our API code first, let it run. Okay, that's running fine. Now we open another terminal. Let's see, we open another terminal, and here we run our application, that is python app.py. Okay, yeah. So now it has asked if you want to send a friend request. So what is the user ID? Let's say the user ID is 3 and the friend ID is 5. Okay, the friend request was sent successfully. Now here, there's one more thing. We need to have this one more option here, that is print, and then here we need 4 dot and then exit. That's the code we need, because if the user selects, so and if choice equals 4, then we need to break out of the while loop, that is exit. Okay, and okay, so we have a break statement here. 4 is break, right? So break the code. So now just save this and we just quit this and rerun that. Let's see if on 4 we just come out. On 4 we just come out of the app. Now we need to view the friend request. So I just press here. I want to view the friend request which I had earlier sent. So user ID 3 had sent a friend request to 5. So let's see if I am 5. I want to see who I sent me a friend request, that is Alex. And now if I go here and just refresh this, I see that 3 has sent a friend request to 5. And let's see in the user section that 3 has sent a 5 request. Oh, 5. Yeah, me being a 5 user, right? So let's now accept the friend request. Me being the user 5 and friend ID is 3, and now the friend request is accepted. So that's the code, and in the future code we will be creating this and we will be migrating this into a more GUI based or an HTML page application. So stay tuned, and please guys support my channel and share it, subscribe it, and do like the content if you just find it helpful for you guys. So thank you so much, and I'll be posting this whole code which is there in GitHub repository link below. So guys, please check it out, and if you have any comments, please feel free to add them. I'll be happy to help you with the problems. Thank you so much, and happy learning.